Oh, fuck.
Hey guys, welcome back to Discovery Myth Talk Show. Another episode with people from different backgrounds with amazing stories. And today, I have this privilege to have a conversation with one of the founder of Story Coaching and the creator of this platform for people to express their stories without scared being judged. Okay, let us welcome Eugene.
Hi.
Hey, bro, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. Thank you so much for accept my invitation and here to share your stories about and definitely to share the amazing work that you did for these 2 years. That is creating a platform for people. Man, that is so good, man.
Thanks, man. I think you're doing a great job as well. I mean, we started in 2018, but I think I'll let you do the introductions.
Okay, so probably we're going to start with maybe you can start to introduce about yourself a little bit about your backgrounds. Yes, where you're from. Yeah, obviously, right? So you can take the mic.
Okay, I'm Eugene. I'm born in Kuching. So I studied mainly the arts in Singapore, and I major mostly in short film productions, TV and film productions. So I came back to Kuching around 2017. So during that time, I started this platform where people could share their stories. It's called the Story Coaching. Yeah.
Yes, and I still remember, right? Your product, your video, your short film, your documentary, right, was shown to me by Sam. Okay, Sam. Okay. Then after that, I was like totally impressed with the way that you're telling stories, the way that you edit the video. Man, it makes me want to approach to you. Like I still remember the first time we met. Right, we having a coffee, and it was quite. That talk itself is so good, man, so good. And I think that after that we didn't meet for quite some times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly 2018, man, because of your first event between the broken pieces.
Yeah.
That's where, man, I think that you are doing such an amazing job.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So probably you can share a bit like oh yes, so his name is Eugene. So he's the creator of Story Coaching. So probably you can tell us about what Story Coaching mainly about.
Okay, so Story Coaching is mainly a storytelling platform. I think when we started in 2018, I mean, like what you say just now, our first content was actually a short film. It tells us a local person. So that short film kickstarted the platform. When we released it, it received around 10,000 views within the first 2 weeks. So people liked what we did. So gradually we thought that we wanted to capture more of the stories here in Kuching, because I realized that because over here it's so diverse, and then we cannot identify ourselves with the city. I mean, at least for me, when I first came back from Singapore. So I thought that by documenting the stories and telling the stories, we are able to find our identity through the narratives. So since then, that was 2018, and later that year, we created the exhibition called the Between the Broken Pieces, and I believe this is what you want to talk to me about today.
Yes, definitely, man. Here's the thing. Before we start, before I ask you, what is the concept and what is the meaning behind Between the Broken Pieces? So, I mean that if the people who are listening right now, if you're able to share this live video, it will be awesome. Because what we're going to talk about, I'm not going to say that it will save many people's life, but definitely it will help people able to express themselves out, to release everything from their heart. Okay, so if you are listening right now, do help share this, because it will help someone. Definitely will help someone. Okay, now back to this, Eugene. So what's the idea of this Between the Broken Pieces?
Okay, so maybe I can start by talking about the name. I don't think many people have asked us about why we call it Between the Broken Pieces. So the name was inspired by a scripture, actually, a scripture from the Bible. So in the Bible, it says that all of us are broken vessels, and it's only because we are broken that light can shine through us. So we were inspired. Actually, it was me and my cousin Joyce. We talked about it when we were having breakfast at the kopitiam, and I think during that time, I was asking my cousin Joyce what she wanted to do for the local community here. So she began telling me stories about how a lot of parents ignore signs that their children, their daughter or their son, suffering from depression. They knew that their children are having some kind of problems, but they do not want to acknowledge that. So I thought this was a pressing issue that we should address. So the journey started from there. So we started the name Between the Broken Pieces. And also, if you look at our poster of 2018, we uses Kintsugi art pieces. So the Kintsugi art pieces by the artist Jip Forhan from Chiang Mai, Thailand. We approached her and we thought that we use her artwork as a symbol of our exhibition. So if you look at Kintsugi pieces, it's actually broken pieces of ceramics being fused together with lacquer, and lacquer is a very valuable, expensive material. But once the ceramics are fused together with lacquer, it added some anti-Semitic properties, antibacterial properties towards the ceramic. So not only that it fixes the broken ceramics, but it also enhances it, adding properties, antibacterial properties to it. So I thought it was amazing. It really is so similar to our concept, which is the broken pieces. We are broken, but it is the why we are broken that make us complete in a way.
Wow, man! The artwork, the Kintsugi that you mentioned, is it the same concept with Japan that they believe that believe that every broken vase, every broken thing, if you repaint it with gold color, it becomes more precious, right?
Yes, you're right. I mean, I think the craft derives from maybe China or Japan, but because it's called Kintsugi, so it's from Japan. So this is what they did last time to repair broken ceramics.
Oh wow! So that's where it bonds, man. I really love the concept that it is too broken that we shine. We shine ourselves. So because I do think that a lot of people wanted to make themselves perfect. Okay, they want to make themselves look perfect, but try to hide, to cover up their brokenness. But it is actually true brokenness that makes us who we are, right?
Sure. Yes. That's fundamentally that's the meaning behind the exhibition. I mean, we are broken, and that makes us complete in a way.
So I'm curious. I'm curious about this because your cousin Joyce, right?
Mhm.
So she mentioned she want to do something that want to do for this local community that a lot of
Mhm.
parents neglect or try to hide the fact that their children maybe have a depression. So how's the process of this attribution? So how does it works?
So at the beginning, to be honest, we did not know what to do actually. I mean, we came up with a name which I thought was very beautiful, but we just did not know what to do. Of course, at the beginning, we have a lot of ideas. We want to do videos, we want to do photography, but we slowly eliminated all the components because we thought that it's not appropriate. For example, people who are going through depression, for example, is such a sensitive topic, and they do not want to appear in photograph. At least they are not ready. So we begin to slowly eliminating components which we thought couldn't work. So we eventually narrow it down to story writing letters, and writing letters is something that is really beautiful because it is done. The process is done when you are in your most intimate setting, in your most intimate space. So without the interruption from anyone. So I think when you are in that space, you feel safe to express yourself. So we began to, Joy started to visit counselors at school. So she wrote in letters to seek counselors. She went to law school and then start talking about this project. And then fortunately, we met students who were willing to share, who are willing to share their stories through letters. So because of that, we began to post online. We announced on our platform, Story Kuching Instagram page, asking people to do the same. And we got a guy called Peter Dirun. I thought he was quite interesting because he commented on our comment section saying that he wants to tell his story, and I thought it was quite interesting because he openly showed that he wants to do so. So we shared Peter's story, and I think it started to snowball from there. So we began to collect more and more letters. Yeah.
Is it you know that just now you mentioned that depressions, right? Like you said, because there's because from the beginning you mentioned that you try to eliminate down like what is the perfect way for depression people to express themselves, because like you said, not everyone not everyone wanted to be judged.
Right.
Yeah, they're scared being judged and everything. So how is it difficult? How is it difficult when how is it difficult to do this? Because you know that we are living in this community where depression, this word is so taboo that no one want to express it out. Do you worry? Do you feel worried when the first time you do that, afraid that there might be no letters coming in?
To be honest, that was never my concern, surprisingly. You're right, it's a very taboo subject, especially in Kuching, right? Kuching is such a small place. Before we did the exhibition, of course, we saw some mental health awareness campaign going on around, but we just thought that those were not the right format of raising the awareness for depression, because it is conducted in a very formal setting. It looks as if that people are attending classes for psychology classes, and that has a problem. If you're conducting in such formal manner, you forgot about people who do not have adequate educational background, right? They probably couldn't understand what you're trying to convey through those very complex way of explaining it. Like conventional way people do it, like this is depression, this is how you seek treatment, things like that. So we thought that those are not the appropriate way to do so. So we resorted to a very intimate manner. But quite interestingly, it was never our worry that we will not get the letters that we wanted. That surprisingly, that's never our concern.
So here's the thing though. This is what I'm curious about. Okay, so between the broken pieces, so you are talking about having a conversation with your cousin Joyce, and that's where the idea started for this depression community. So I'm curious. I'm really curious because when you're saying this, is it possible that you too had the depression before? That's why you feel so. That's why you feel that this is what you must do for this community.
Right, because okay, I haven't really explained Joy's background. She was a psychology student at Seki College, so she definitely has the background in psychology. So she understands what we are trying to. I mean, she understands mental health. Probably better than I do, I believe. But for me, yes, it's something that I really. I won't say passionate about, but it's something that I do pay attention to because I've also been through. I think when I was in around 13, that's when I mean, according to my psychologist, that's when I was diagnosed with depression. But I did not seek treatment until I was probably 2017. 2017 was the year that I finally sought treatment, and it begins my journey of recovery. And of course, yes, I think this is probably one of the motivations why I decided to do this too, because I know how it's like to undergo the journey. I know how it's like that you are not able to share with people, and people might not understand, So I think I was able to empathize with those who are going through the same journey.
Wow, man. I mean that this is such a an awesome. I mean that what you shared just now is that you too having a depression as well at the age of 13. But what makes you wanted to seek help when at the year of 2017? If you able to share a little bit with us.
Well, 2017, like I said earlier, it was the year that I came back from Singapore, and then I think that was the time. I think when I was in Singapore, I did not really have the time to pay attention to myself, actually, because I was there when I was 18. I went to school, and after going to school, I began working in TV in Singapore. So because Singapore is such a fast-paced society, right? I don't think a lot of times we neglected ourselves. So when I finally came back in around 2017, that's when I was able to finally spend some time with myself, and I actually realized that how upset I was. Although I knew that things were not right since I was 13, but because no one has ever acknowledged or ever responded to my emotional needs, so I did not develop the mechanism to identify such emotions. So it was because for 10 years I think it has become part of me already, that I couldn't even identify that this should not be with me. But 2017 was the year that I finally had the time to self-reflect, and that's when I thought that okay, maybe I should seek help, and I'm glad I did because it was then I realized that that part of me wasn't really me, and now I'm recovering. So this is the real me.
Wow. I mean that it took a huge courage, like to go to seek medication help, especially especially when you are so afraid. You are so afraid because of this insecurity, because of afraid that letting people know that you are actually taking a medication. So just now you mentioned about the words recovering. Just so that I want to know, is it possible if you totally recovered 100%, let's say 100% from depression?
That's a very good question, actually. I cannot answer the question professionally, but this is what my psychiatrist told me. According to him, it is not possible. It is not possible to fully recover from it. Especially if you have the symptoms for more than 10 years or 10 years, you can't know that this is not part of your personality. You know, you would always believe that this is your personality, and you're always prone to having suicidal thoughts. You're always having a low mood. So that's the answer based on the psychiatrist I spoke with. But that doesn't mean that you can't recover from it. You know, you can find ways and meanings to how to incorporate this into your life. And yeah.
Wow. I mean that I think that when you're talking about that, there is that there is a chance for recovery, but not fully recovery. So it's something like it's so different compared to normal diseases, chronic diseases such as cancer and etc. So I mean that throughout this, 2017 until now, I do believe that depression do come sometimes, and you yourself will notice that. You yourself will know, hey, oh my God, it's coming again. So how do you usually also, or maybe you can share a little bit tips of like how you suppress it or how you get a recovery from it?
Well, suppressing it is definitely not the way to go. If you are having symptoms of depression, or if you are already being diagnosed with depression, suppressing it, I think, is the last option that you want to consider, because I think that's going to makes it worse. So I would suggest to speak it out. That's why we started Between the Broken Pieces, right? Is to encourage people to speak out. So I think the first step will be speaking out about it, and to realize that this is not really your problem. It's not, you are not the problem. The problem is depression. And I think once you're able to do that, and you'll be able, and when you establish your own support system, in my case, I was quite fortunate enough to have very supportive friends, like amazing friends that helped me go through that.
Yeah, I think that when you are undergoing depression, so it's so important. It's so important to have, the friends around you who you definitely can talk to. And you can express yourself freely, and they can just listen and be there for you. I mean that this is why I think that Between the Broken Pieces is such an amazing exhibition, because not everyone such as privileged as you to have a group of friends who understand you, who will try to understand you. So this exhibitions is definitely a way for them to express themselves. Like the feeling of hiding everything inside. So I think that probably we can show a clips of how this Between the Broken Pieces exhibitions looks like.
Okay.
Yes. Oh wow, man! Wow, I mean that is so amazing. So, so when you are doing these exhibitions, right? This Between the Broken Pieces, what is your feeling when it's on the day itself? Like when you start launching it, and for 2 weeks time. I think it's 2 weeks, right? Previously, right?
Wait, no, less than 2 weeks. Probably a little bit more than a week. No, probably 6 days. I think. Wait, 5 days. 5 days.
Yeah. So what's going on inside that exhibitions?
Do you mean on the first day, or do you mean like?
On the first day until the end of the day.
I think the first day was okay. Once we did all the preparation, we set out the space, we move in the prompts. We put up the letters. When we first opened the door, I think that was when the worry starts to hit, because I mean, like I was telling you just now, how I wasn't concerned at all about if we were going to collect any letters at all. But on the first day, that was the worry started to appear, where I was, oh, what happened if no one's come? What's going
I think everyone's scared of that. Everyone. I think that almost everyone who going for doing exhibition, they'll be thinking, "Oh man, what if there is not single soul stepping into these exhibitions, right?"
Yeah, that was my concern. But very, very interestingly, I mean, after 10 minutes of thinking that way, a group of students appear, and they were our first visitors to the exhibition. Around a dozen of them, teachers, lecturers, and her students. And I think that somehow made me feel a little bit good, a little bit confident that maybe they're going to be more.
Yeah. So just now that from the clip itself. Okay. So I saw that. Is there any meaning behind why you hang the letters instead of just paste it on the wall?
Right. It's interesting. Interesting question. Again, no one has ever asked questions like this before. So, okay, a piece of paper, right? Is okay. This is a receipt, not a paper, but
it's still paper, man. It's still paper.
That's the only thing that I can reach out now. But anyway, a piece of paper is very thin. You see, it's very thin. It has almost no weight. It's almost insignificant. But once you hang up like this, it creates an invisible space. Like such an insignificant piece of paper could dominate a space. So when you observe the exhibition, no one touched the paper. They won't go too close to the paper, as if they are respecting that invisible space that is created by this piece of paper. Very interesting that when you hang paper up like that, people start to respect it in a way, and it starts to have more dominance in a way. So this is why we decided to do it as such, instead of just passing on the wall, because that's a very careless way of doing it, and also that because the wall is going to be the one dominating the space, so the idea won't work. Yeah.
Wow, man! I mean, it's very interesting. It's really interesting. If you give me the chance of doing this, right? Anything related to paper, right? My idea would be like, oh, why don't we just pass it on the wall? It's so easy. But to think that you have taken the step, the preparations, the small minor details until this level, it shows that you really, really care about these stories being written in form of letter.
Yes. Like maybe at the beginning when we were preparing the exhibition, of course we don't know what content to bring, but the idea of having letters being suspended in the air like that was already in my head, so I basically designed the exhibition around that. And very interestingly, because we had a volunteer, she had no backgrounds in the arts, and then when she saw the exhibition, she told me that it looks as if there was a person standing behind the paper, and when she said that to me, I that's when I realized that this concept works.
Oh wow!
Like you don't have to, you don't need to, someone doesn't have to have background in the arts, art educated to understand the concept. So my volunteer, who has no background in the arts at all, told me this is what she felt, and that's when I realized, that's when I understand that this concept works.
Oh man, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Like a volunteer, especially the part when you mentioned just now, is that it's just like the altar.
Someone's
the
standing,
altar.
Yeah.
It's just like the altar of the letter standing behind. It's just like, this is my stories. This is what I face. Oh wow, man! I'm having goosebumps right now. Oh my god!
And even the paper is being suspended based on the average height of Sarawakians. So the average height is probably around 165 to 170 centimeters. So that's the height of the letters. So it somehow mimics a person's height. And plus, yeah. So I think minute details like this is what enhance the experience, I believe.
Oh man, I mean that this is like, man, because like you said, when you pass it on the wall, right? This is what a normal people would do. Okay, pass it on the wall. Now I understand when you pass it on the wall, like it's some sort of like it's been like what you said, dominated by the wall, right?
Yeah, like the wall is swallowing the paper, you know, so it looks like the wall has bigger dominance over the paper.
Oh my god, this is. Oh man, this is. I mean, I'm glad I'm asking these questions to know. Oh man, I'm having goosebumps right now. Oh my god.
No one has ever asked us questions like this, you know, like even between the broken, why is it called between the broken pieces? No one has ever asked. There's one reporter, Priscilla, from Sarawak Tribune. She was the first, but she has to ask because she's writing an article. But other than that, no one has ever asked. So you're probably the second person.
Wow, man, I'm glad I'm asking that. Oh man, now I understand. Now I understand. Actually, like you don't have, you don't need to have an art experience or knowledge to let what the exhibition giving to vibes. Oh man, that is so cool. Oh, goosebump, really, really goosebump. So here's the thing. So the first day had passed. You are worried whether there's a visitors going to come here. How about the second, the third, the fourth, and the last day?
We started seeing more crowds after the first day because that's when we posted pictures on the first day, right? I took the pictures and I posted it online, and then more and more people saw it, and they began to understand what we're trying to do. Maybe I did not explain this earlier, but when we were trying to explain to people our concept, no one understood what we were trying to do. But it was when we posted pictures of the first day and people realized, oh, this is what it is. And that's when we gradually to see more and more people coming in. On our peak day, we got about around 200 people visiting the space.
Wow, I mean, 200 people
afternoon.
on the weekday.
On a weekend, in one afternoon. Yeah.
Wow. I mean that people start to know. So maybe you can share just now through the clips that I saw people reading it so seriously, reading the letters, trying to understand the feeling of the author. So maybe is there any memorable things that happens during that 5 days of exhibitions?
Many. The first memorable thing would be that the youngest author that wrote to us was 14 years old. So you can imagine how young, someone has. Like there's no age gap, like a specific age gap of
Oh,
depression.
man, 14. Oh my god.
14, and then I think we have also someone from the 60s, so the age gap is quite diverse actually. So also I noticed, yes, a lot of people cry reading the stories. I was quite surprised to see that because I did not realize how impactful it was, maybe. But I think one memorable moment would be, okay, there's two. I'll just emphasize on two.
Okay.
So a couple went in, right? A guy and a girl. So the girlfriend was the one who was interested in the event. So she came, she was reading the letters. The boyfriend did the same as well. So they were taking a long time, I believe probably 45 minutes, spending time on each letter. So after they finished, the couple approached me and then they began trying to understand more about the exhibition. So we went home, and that night I received an email, and the email came from the boyfriend, the guy, and I was a bit surprised actually because I did not expect that he would because he wasn't the one who was interested in the event, and the girlfriend was the person who was interested. And for him to write into us, telling us his story, and he began the story by saying that he has never told anyone his story before, and then we are probably the third or the fourth. That was quite impactful for me. And the second most impactful, memorable moment would be when we were closing the exhibition for the day. We saw a letter a letter in an envelope being placed somewhere in the corner of the exhibition space. So we couldn't notice at first. Well, we would only notice it when we were closing it. And then we saw that, hey, there's more people trying to send us letters, not through various methods. So this person, I think it's a she decided to submit her stories in a very, very, very discreet manner, and we did not even notice that someone actually put a letter in the corner of the exhibition space.
Wow. Well, to be true, right? I think that this year, I think that last year, right, when we were meeting, when we were having a meetup at your office, and a letter come in, right? A written letter, okay, not by email, not by anything. And to be true, when I read it, I almost heartbreak. It's like a very young girl who tried to, I still remember what she wrote. Not perfectly 100%, but I still remember that whenever she sat, she just get a knife and just slice through her wrist.
Yeah.
And that scar is still there, man. I was like, yeah, like you said that when the first time you do that, and when you saw many people cry while reading that letters, it's really impactful, man. It's really impactful. That just by reading it, it really feels so sad. Like, I wish, like, something that you want to tell yourself, like, I wish that I was there, like, to be able to help her. And the feeling of helplessness where no one understands you, man. It really, even though it's just a letter, it's so impactful. It really, really so impactful. It really touched my heart, and yeah, almost tears, but I meant it out, man. Yeah, I mean that. And so I do saw one of your photos. I mean that you also do some talks about depressions on the exhibition.
Yes.
So
yes, we had a forum. During the forum, we had because last year 2019 was the second year of us doing it already. But I'll talk about the one in the first year. The first year we had a psychotherapist from Timberland. Her name is Joyce Liu, and also we had a depression overcomer. His name is Peter Diru. So they were giving their real life recounts of their experience with depression, or dealing with patients with depression. Yeah, and that went quite well. That was when there was a lot of people who came, which surprised me and Joyce.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing. And it I can say that it is such a wonderful things, such a wonderful exhibitions. Another platform for like people to express themselves, especially for those who are having depressions. And definitely I'm wondering here, since it has been 2 years, it had been 2 years between the Broken Pieces organizing Kuching. So definitely, like I always believe in, when you do such decisions, it would lead to another opportunities, or another door of opportunities will be open. So what kinds of doors has Between the Broken Pieces opened up for you, man?
So I'm very thankful that after we did the first installation, we were invited to Singapore to restage. Okay, maybe restaging is not the right word. I'm now thinking about it, but it's like we brought the concept to Singapore. So in 2019, last year, we did the exhibition in two cities concurrently, in Kuching and in Singapore. So in Singapore, it's titled differently. It's called Between the Pieces. The Untold Stories of Depression in Kuching and Singapore. It was held, the venue was quite similar to the one in Kuching, because in Kuching we did it at Orchid House. In Singapore, it was also at the Heritage Building. So the concept seems to be working over there too. And we were collecting stories from Singapore and Kuching, and then we exhibit them together in Temenggung, Singapore.
So apart from this, like what else that probably you had the opportunity to meet more people who share about depressions, or any besides expanding to Singapore?
Definitely meeting a lot of people. That's definitely true. We've met a lot of people. People are, like, they're curious of what we are doing. So yeah, because in Singapore, I remember, because Singapore is such a dense populated city, right? And before I did the exhibition, I thought that maybe similar thing has already been done over there. That maybe there's abundance of mental health awareness campaign, but done in a very artistic manner, probably has been done over there. But I was quite surprised because when the first day of the exhibition in Singapore, I was being approached by an artist, or maybe a couple of them, Singaporeans. They were telling me that nothing like that has ever happened in Singapore yet. Like they couldn't find anything similar. That really surprised me, actually. But it was true that then I began to I met a lot of Singaporeans who wanted to collaborate with us in the future, and it is very inspiring to see that how a small exhibition could start the conversation and then eventually encourage other people to do the same. So in that sense, it's not our own effort anymore. It created maybe like a domino
Community,
effect. Yeah, that inspired others to start the conversation.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I'm done.
So here's the thing. You know that there's a lot of hotlines. I do believe that hotlines for depressions and everything, it exists not just in Kuching. I believe that it happens all around the world. Yeah. So I'm not trying to discriminate anyone. I'm not trying to discriminate this hotline. But here's the thing. Which way is more effective? I mean that when for people to express themselves, is it through hotline, or is it through the way that you plan it out, which is writing letters? Because I believe that when people talking to strangers, trying to express themselves out, sometimes they do hold back because they couldn't trust that particular person. But when you're writing letters, you can write everything without telling who you are. Yeah. So
okay, so you're asking me.
Yeah. So I'm asking you that which way is more effective for people to express themselves?
Okay. To begin answering that question, we do not provide support because it is just an exhibition and installation meant to start the conversation about mental health within the society. So it is meant to raise awareness. That was the objective. We were glad that people took part in this initiative, but we were also able to give them a community to engage with one another, to provide the support system like we just talked about just now. But we are not able to provide treatment. That's not what our intentions were. Myself, I don't have psychology background at all. So definitely people can't come to us for treatment. That cannot work. But I believe we have other channels like Befrienders Coaching. But I believe Befrienders Coaching is, okay, I might be wrong, but I think they are like a suicide hotline. I think the best way to seek help is there's many platforms actually that you can access that you can type, so you don't have to reveal yourself, your identity to the person, the counselor. There's a platform called Listen, LISTEN, Listen Emotional Support Platform. If you Google, you could find. And there's probably plenty more out there. And but for me, I believe in the traditional way, which is to meet a psychotherapist, psychologist for help. That will be the best way.
Yeah, true. So which means that it's still safer to go to the hotline, to call for the hotline to seek help, because they do have some support, some psychiatric to help, right?
I think the hotline is an emergency, like when situation has become slightly out of control. Okay, I might be wrong, so I'm not going to comment on that. But I just want to share something quite heartbreaking, because when we were doing the exhibition, right, we received submissions via email. So one of these lady who sent to us, the story was really heartbreaking, because she opened the story with explaining that she is already contemplating suicide. Like that night, that moment when she sent us that letter, she was already planning to commit suicide. And she did also reveal to us that she wanted to seek help, in a conventional manner, which is to see a psychologist. But she was pacing back and forth the entrance of the clinic, like she didn't dare to enter. And she was also planning to call the hotline, but before anyone could answer the call, she hung up. And then I think she called like twice, but every time when someone speaks, she got scared, and then she just hung up the call. She ended the call, but she resorted to contacting us. That's why she wrote that story, and then she contacted us. So I was the one who read the letters. I think it was sent to us around 3 a.m. in the morning. But it was a very interesting thing, like there's different avenues, different channels out there, but she decided to come to us. So of course our job is to encourage her to seek help, as soon as possible. We don't try to push, to be too pushy, but we did try to tell her that we are listening to your story, we understand what you're going through, but this is the help that you could get. But I think that's a very interesting story that I could share, like in relation to the questions that you asked just now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, we might not be able to provide the treatment or something like that, but people trust us enough to tell us what's going on, and then we can act like a friend to advise them that you should consider doing this.
Yeah, true. I think that this is where you guys come in. That you guys can act as a friend. That is really good. That's really good that you guys can act as a friend. You guys can, okay, we understand. We listen to your stories. We know what you're going through, but it's still better if you seek professional help. Something like this. Wow, I mean that it's
maybe I should conclude that story. And that girl, she's fine, she's safe. She did not.
Thank God.
Yeah. So I mean, she still writes to us every now and then. So that's a relief to know. So she did not die.
Executed. She did not execute it. Yeah, it's really amazing. So next, I'm probably curious. What's next for Between the Broken Pieces?
Well, we were planning that this year was going to be like the final installation. We do have plans actually, but you know what's happening now in around the world. Like, it's a worldwide disruptions to not just the art scenes, but every sectors in the economy. So of course we are affected as well. So this year we might not have another installation of Between the Broken Pieces, but our goal is to, because after doing the exhibition in Singapore, I realized that what if we could do like in every city, and then we were being invited to Vietnam as well. People tried to invite us, so I thought that it might be really interesting if we could have the exhibition in every cities in Southeast Asia. Okay, maybe Kuching, Singapore, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, and then we can gather all these stories and bring them to a hub, and then it kind of showed that despite our cultural differences, we are connected similarly. So that was the plan, that we had. That I was thinking to make it happen within 5 years, but at this point, I think we cannot. 2020, there's probably nothing to expect.
Yeah, because of the COVID-19, right?
Yeah, because it requires people to be present in the space, So because with the social distancing measures in place, right, even after the MCO is being lifted, I believe that social distancing measures still has to be practiced. So in that sense, having an exhibition in a public space might not be something that we can look forward to this year, I believe.
True. So I mean that is truly an amazing goal. That is to do these exhibitions at every city in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, a little bit ambitious, I believe, but
Hey, no, it's not ambitious. I think that it's one of a dream, man. If you have this kind of ideas, you just make it push forward.
We'll see. 5 years. It's a 5-year plan.
Oh man, I definitely would be waiting, man. I definitely would be waiting for this good news. Like one day text me, hey, now Between the Broken Pieces is in every city, in every Southeast Asia.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, maybe not every country is in Southeast Asia, but like the major ones.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Will you still be accepting letters right now, or it will be just during the exhibitions only?
Yes. What we did the past 2 years was we had a deadline for the submission, but we gathered a lot of feedback telling us that just leave it open. So there's no deadline when the submission should stop. So we now do accept letters. People, if you go to our website storykuching.com, there's a section for you to submit your story. So you can write to us either via email or through letters, writing the snail mail, they call it, to our address.
So all they need to do is just go to storykuching.com, and there is sections for this, right? For them to submit their stories, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I think that it's really amazing. It's really amazing that what you are doing right now. It really opens up. I think that it really helps a lot of people.
Thank you. I think we are just doing our part. I mean, when we started, we did not understand how big the impact could be. But I think we're just doing our part, and I believe it's a collective effort, not just in regards to mental health, but in other situations as well. I mean, we should, as a community, we should push for a change.
Yeah, I think that what you're doing right now is actually opens up people. Like, hey, if you don't have any friends, you can come to us. You can share with us. You don't need to expose yourself. You even can use your nickname. I think that I think that what you are doing right now, these exhibitions, is like opens up another way to let people know that depression is happening among this community.
Yes, I mean you're very very right, because one of the I remember one comment very clearly. It was during the exhibition. Someone told us that when they read the letters, they were shocked, they were surprised that this is happening in Kuching, because as opposed to you reading it on your phone, when you saw it on Facebook, maybe you paid attention to it for like 10 seconds and then you scroll away to a different content, like commercial to a fast food commercial or something, so you're immediately distracted already. But when it's presented to you in such a manner that the space is dedicated for the stories, you spend more time, and because the handwritten letters are right in your face,
Yep.
and that's the reason why during the first year we focused on Kuching only. We did not want to have an open call for people in Penang, or Kota Kinabalu, or KL. We just focused on Kuching because we want people to know that this is happening in Kuching. Otherwise people will just assume that it's just other people's problem, an issue that only happens in a big city. We do not want that misconception. That's why at the very beginning we kept emphasizing that untold stories of depression in Kuching, and it has to be only in Kuching. But subsequently we did get the stories from Miri as well. Miri, Brunei maybe.
Wow. I mean, this is just like, it's just like a you punch the people face, say, yeah, hey, wake up. This is happening in our city. It's not just happened in United States. It's not just happened in England, London. It happens here, your hometown.
Yes. Yeah. And Kuching is a small city, and so that's why people would assume that it doesn't happen here. We are so relaxed. Why would it happen here? But there's a stigma surrounding. Okay, even though we are a small city, but there's the stigma surrounding mental illness here is quite apparent. Like the Sentosa Hospital. I mean, we heard about it, right? I mean, even when we were young, we were kids, we were school kids. We would always make fun with one another. If you behave in such a crazy manner, or if you're just your character is a bit eccentric, you belong to the you belong to Sentosa Hospital. So it always has this very negative connotation to it. Like people associate not only the psychiatric hospital as a place for people who are not stable, but you are also at the same time perpetuating the stigma of mental illness. Or if you have depression, you confirm crazy, you should go to Sentosa. So the stigma is really, really pervasive. Even until today, you still hear that joke. Like people would, you belong to Sentosa, things like that. So I believe that it's not just. I mean, it's very obvious that it's not just a problem that only exists in big cities. But in Kuching, the stigma has been here for the longest time.
Yeah, just know people taking like I took notice of this problem when it really happens around here. Until that this depression become more like taking attention from people. Okay, I think it's only this past few years where you can listen to there's a lot of like what you said, there's a lot of campaign about depression and thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, I think last year there was 2 suicide cases that really got reported quite
on newspaper, right?
Yeah, on the newspaper. Not just locally, but I believe around the world as well. The first one being, I think, a 14 or 16-year-old girl who posted something on Instagram. It's a poll asking her friends to vote if she should live, if she should die. And of course, the poll result came in. Many supported her suicide.
To die, right?
Yes, and then that's one case, and then the second one was also another very young person. So, and then it's really shocking to see that these people are so young. They are barely 20 years old, and then their life has so much hope. So much ahead of their life, but they couldn't see hope at that point, and they just want to take their own life. They wanted to end their life. So we could see that the problem is, according to a psychiatrist, the hospital director of Sentosa Hospital, she told me that the age group for suicide victims are becoming younger. So we are seeing younger people committing suicide, self-harm, or resorted to other means to cope with the problem. So it's very shocking. So I think something has to be done.
Yeah, and definitely, between the broken pieces is definitely one of it. It's definitely one of it to let people aware that this is not a minor problem. This is actually a big thing, a big problem that we need to look at and to think of, like how we need to help these people. Yeah, and before we go, before we end these conversations, is there any advice for you, from you as a creator, and of course people who having depressions and recovering on depressions? Is there any advice for them, for the people, for the audience?
For the audience, who are overcoming this problem,
Yeah.
don't stay silent. I think, but it it really depends if you are a male or a female. Sorry. Female are more likely to speak up than guys, as guys usually are quite reserved about it. So I would encourage people to speak out, find someone that you could speak to. I think speaking out by telling how you feel. And I think people have to know that what they feel is important, because people always disregard emotions, because they're like, oh, it's just emotions doesn't pay. Why do you care? So people care what you feel, so speak out. I think that's going to be the first step of recovery.
Wow, thanks. So I think that this is just not for depression people, and I do believe that it's for everyone. It's for everyone out there. Okay, like no matter what kinds of problem that you have, what situations you are, it is always the safest and the good way to talk to people, to express yourself, so that like what Eugene said, people do care about you. People do care about your feeling. You just have to find the right person to talk to.
Right, perfect. Yeah, that's a good one. But maybe I should add another one, because I think I got
Sure.
almost every time. Parents are always asking. Based on the experience that doing this event, parents always wonder, like, what should they do, for their children, for their son or daughter who is going through this. So, I'm very happy, like, when the moment when the parents start asking, like, what can I do for my son or daughter who's having depression, I think that's already a very good sign that the parents acknowledge that there's a problem, and they are trying to do something to make it better. So for parents, I would believe that you have to pay more attention to what your children say. Do not just brush things away. Pay attention, and probably be patient as well, because it's not easy to look after someone who has depression. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, man. Thank you for this. Thank you for this talk. Thank you for the time, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your journey of being recovering from these depressions, and how you take this between the broken pieces a part of you, because what you have faced, and And thank you so much for creating another way for people to express themselves, without scared being judged or without scared being made fun of. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
I think we have a very thick face, like thick skin.
I mean that when you have thick skin, right, then you can survive. I think. Yeah, I think that's where you can survive.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, because I really enjoyed this conversation actually, because you asked me questions that would never be asked before, and it's really good. It allows me to reflect on it again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but still, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this talk of this live show behind our story behind every name. So do follow and subscribe and share these stories out to everybody, to let them know that there is this platform where you can express themselves without being judged, and just by writing your email and tell us your stories. Okay, so if you want to know where to go, just go to storycoaching.com and just submit your stories. And stay tuned for the next video with different guests from different backgrounds with amazing stories. I see you guys next time.